Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanim. Okay, so we're going to jump right in here and get right into an article here, or rather a post. This is from Ripple. All right, so there's chapters. If you like to jump around, this is going to be a hefty one. We have a lot to cover. All right. We're going to start off with a little bit of XRP as we're going to do this Ripple article. We have some XLM, Algorand, so on and so forth, futures. I think we have a little bit of gold maybe in here today. So we cover a few different things here. This is the tweet from Ripple. Our newest partners in Europe, Lehman Way and XBot. First of all, let me stop there. All right. When I hear bot, immediately I'm thinking Thailand. I believe a few countries there use bot. Thailand, maybe Cambodia, Vietnam. I believe those regions, Southeast Asian region, I believe that is. People can correct me if I'm wrong. OK, we have a lot of great subscribers from that region. They can correct me if I'm wrong there. But it shows that they're prepping, they're getting ready to dominate in Southeast Asia, right? When I see that, I just think money. I see money signs because that entire region, economically speaking, is going to be exploding. We already know that. But there's, like I said, there's the advent of the digital nomad. Never forget that. There's a lot of people from the West. They're fleeing the West. Look, they're not talking about this on the news. People are fleeing the West and they're finding greener pastures in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, where they can buy beautiful, beautiful properties. Real estate is more reasonable. Some of the laws are more reasonable. You can start your business in some of these places a little bit more easily, and expanding your business comes a little bit easier as well. Also, like I just said, there's the advent of the explosion of that economy because of distributed ledger technologies. Now they don't have to worry about fees when you're talking about cross-border payments. So those regions are, what's coming out of there is going to be powerful. And so this is why when I see XBot, I read a post like this, I see it a little differently than other people. I say to myself, Ripple knows what it's doing. XRP is going to explode. This is a great thing in my humble opinion. And then they go on to say on-demand liquidity. They will use our crypto-enabled payment solution, on-demand liquidity, of course. So, you know, that's another thing. People have to keep in perspective of how many institutions are going to be using on-demand liquidity. Then also keep in mind, right, that in order to use on-demand liquidity, these institutions, hundreds of them, we've heard numbers from over 300 financial institutions to 400 at different times. I personally believe it's closer to 500, over maybe 500 financial institutions. I think it's a little closer to the number that Quant has access to. However, they can't put out official numbers, Ripple, on how many of those institutions they have signed up just yet because of non-disclosure agreements. All right. And some of them only have memorandums of understanding signed. So I have to keep that in mind personally. And so it's just something over time, more and more will be revealed. But with that many, the point is, with that many institutions having to hold XRP, keep that in mind, hold XRP in order to utilize on-demand liquidity, which if you need more clarity on that, go to ripple.com. They have all that information there. I've posted that so many times on the channel. People have the screenshots. They've probably downloaded the website. So that's a fact. They have to hold XRP in order to utilize on-demand liquidity. That means that, one, they're taking large amounts of XRP off the market. Keep in mind, you got commercial banks, you have public banks, private banks going to be using ODL. You have governments going to be using ODL. You're going to be having central banks using on-demand liquidity. Then you have these businesses using on-demand liquidity as well. That's a lot of XRP is going to become rare, theoretically speaking. If it becomes rare, what does it do to that price? The same thing I would say about XLM. You can use XLM in almost the same way, but you just have to do it more on an individual company basis. You don't think companies are lining up and planning in advance to buy giant allotments of XLM to use for their own purposes? Of course, but we'll get into that later. We have a little XLM news we're going to be covering in just a little bit. But this makes me very excited. I like this. This is great. This is why they put out these tweets, to generate excitement and let people know, hey, listen, we didn't just say that we're establishing ourselves there. We're getting deep there. That's what I want to hear. I'm here to make some money. So I need to know that things are moving forward, and Ripple never fails to let us know that, right? So it says, then it also goes on to say, to manage internal treasury and provide faster, more affordable retail #remittances. Right? So we know all the benefits of that, but internal treasury, that's what's important to me. That's what's important to me. Why? Because that is going to mean consistency in volume and consistency in high value. Keep in mind, XRP functions better where? At a higher price, way up there. Okay? But that has more weight behind that idea when you know that you have to hold XRP in order to utilize on-demand liquidity. And if you're going to be managing, which is an ongoing thing, you're managing internal treasuries with, and that takes on a myriad of ideas also, because managing internal treasuries is not just about keeping the balance and liquidity of the funds being able to flow in and out, right? Without any pre-funding, it can go anywhere. It's near instant finality. We have all of that, but then also keep in mind, and I don't remember, maybe I posted this in the members only section. I get confused what I'm posting, where I'm saying what, which by the way, click that little join button. Become a member is right below the video. Click that little join button, become a member, then scroll over to the members only section and see all the documents that I post. Some of them have been very good, very powerful. I also put out members only videos when I feel like there's something very important to address over there as well. Those are very powerful. I have another one coming out probably tomorrow morning. But also the members only section is what supports and keeps this channel alive and makes it possible for me to do videos like this here. So I greatly appreciate everyone who is a member. Salute to them. They are the esteemed ones. Now, but to manage the treasuries, that means consistently high volume and consistently high value. Now imagine hundreds, and we will be, I'm feel it in my spirit, because I see how Ripple, I see the vision of Ripple when they say all the money, flip of the switch, right? All the money is key. There will be thousands of financial institutions utilizing XRPL. That's what I believe. Now, if that's the case and you have them all not only utilizing on-demand liquidity, but, oh, that's what I wanted to get to. My apologies. So the treasuries, they're both ties in. Both of these ideas I'm working with tie in. Sorry about that. I sort of think in pieces, so you have to jump around with me to see the whole picture. I'm like just throwing puzzle pieces in. Traceability. Now, in the members only section, I believe I made a post. I don't know if I talked about it in the last video or it was just a post, but very powerful entities are interested in utilizing the bank coins for traceability. Okay. That means that when you're managing treasuries in all of these different ways, using something like XRP or XLM or Algorand, a lot of that value, because of the very nature of the mechanisms and how they function, will be locked up, so to speak. They will constantly be flowing in those systems, which means they will not be available to the public. What does that do to that price? Let's think logically here. What does it do to that price? And so I think I was about to say earlier, that would mean that XRP, XLM, Algorand, these things, definitely Quant, Cello, these things will become very, very rare because they will be in constant use. Now, I think it's more logical that things happen in degrees and a little bit over time. I understand many people are not patient out there. That's perfectly fine. I'm not asking you to be. But I do also understand that there are times where things happen meteorically and things can happen all at once. But that's why we watch Catalyst. The catalyst in the activities of the companies, the governments, watching those activities, observing the progress forward, looking beneath the surface. That's what tells us how fast things are moving, at what pace. Then we can begin to make calculations based on time periods. But that's up to you. That's a personal thing, because everyone's calculations are going to be different, because everyone holds a different allotment of XRP, XLM, Algorand, Hedera, Cello, XDC, so on and so forth. Okay. So everyone's calculations are going to be different. That's something you have to do to understand and get an idea on how much you may believe that these things can rise in value and how much capital they can bring to you. Then you have another thing you're going to have to think about, which is, where do I want to hold my value? The dollar is in trouble. So like I said, in the future, and hopefully, if they institute these systems, they can save the system. That's the prime solution, instituting these systems. The dollar is in trouble if they don't do that. So then do you cash out your value into a dollar that may plummet in value depending on what's going to happen? That's another catalyst people have to keep up with, is the advent, or rather rise, of the BRICS nations. You have to. You don't want to cash everything out into the dollar, then the dollar plummets and it's not worth anything. So all that value, where did it go? So you have to be wise when it comes to currencies. Which currencies hold very little value, may rise in value, you can make some money off of that. Which ones are safe? Which ones are sort of stable? Really, all of them are experiencing extreme volatility at this time. But over time, understand where these different things are moving so you know how to protect your value. Then you have things like gold. Gold right now, in my humble opinion, if you get on the low, gold is the most solid right now store of value. As far as I can see, okay, there is the, the possibility that, I'm just going to say it's the possibility silver could explode. Okay. There's a lot of things going on with silver. So, you know what? I'm going to say more, but I'll say it in the members only section. I wish I had my pen to write it down, but that's all I'm going to say. So, but gold right now is the most stable as far as I'm concerned. You get in at a low, gold is going up, and gold's doing well right now because the dollar has been a little bit weak as of late. All right. So you have that. Then, you have a lot of different types of store of value, but make sure that if you're going to need that liquidity, that you can be able to, you will be able to extract that liquidity if you need it. Right. So let's say something like the housing market, and they've been having a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Of course, we've been covering it throughout the year. But it could be a little bit problematic trying to move a house if you try to store your value in something like that, real estate, whatever. It can be rendered illiquid for quite some time because people are not buying like they used to. So, you have a lot of things going on, a lot of dynamics that could change, but you're just going to have to stay abreast of those type of things. Right. So, wow, I said all of that, and we're still on one article, but I have so many thoughts. I'm trying to give you as much as I can. So I feel satisfied. When I do that and I just let my mind flow, I feel satisfied with the job that I've done, that I gave everything that I possibly could. My coach used to, when I was in high school, my coach used to say, leave everything on the mat. Right. So this was in wrestling. Right. Leave everything on the mat. That means give everything that you can, and you'll be satisfied with the outcome. You have no regrets. You did the best you could. You fought as hard as you could. That's what my coach used to say. All right. And I always believe that. I feel like that now. And that has resonated with me throughout my life. So in these videos, I try to give as much as I can, the best that I can, and leave it all on the mat. So now we have an article here. This one here is on zcrypto.com. And it's titled XRP and Cardano trader sentiment hits extreme bullish level with crowd hopeful of gigantic price surge. Well, I can't really speak for Cardano. I do believe Cardano will be wildly successful in the future. I do. I don't currently hold any Cardano, but I see, I used to. I definitely took profit on that. It's not a bank coin. It's not a bank coin, all right? But because of what they are doing, particularly with traceability, like I said, I always reference it. If they continue forward with whatever they were doing with ScanTrust, I see them exploding wildly. Anybody that's getting into traceability is going to be dominant. This is why, one of the reasons why VeChain is set up so beautifully. They are going to dominate, especially when regulatory clarity comes out. There's no way VeChain price is staying at where it is because of what they have established. They're doing traceability for fashion. They're doing traceability for governments. They're doing traceability for food. They had traceability for wine. You saw their QR codes on the back of sneakers. So Cardano, if they are working with ScanTrust and they go down that path, yeah, sure, I see it being a very bullish future for Cardano, but that's yet to be seen. You have to just watch the catalyst and then you'll know what's happening. All right. So that's how I feel about that. But it says XRP here. I just thought I'd give my light thoughts on Cardano. So let's see what they're saying here. They talk a lot. Why do they do that? They use XRP as a hook to bring you in and then talk about Bitcoin first. Like, I never understand that. Like, I feel that if you put XRP in the title, talk about XRP first, talk about Bitcoin last. Like, clearly XRP is the headliner here, but I don't even see where they're talking about XRP. My goodness. Okay, so here we go. After close to 3 months of dampened on-chain activity and euphoria around the crypto market. Wait a minute. Crowd optimism seems to be creeping back as investors anticipate a massive rebound in XRP. Maybe I'm just not reading this the way that it should be read. Anticipate a massive rebound in XRP. That's very easy to predict, as the nearing of the end of the case is coming. They said around February or March. And look, hopefully that occurs. And if it does, I think it's as close to a guarantee as you're ever going to get for a protocol to explode insanely. It's my humble opinion. So people are, and more, Ripple is racking up victories in the SEC case. So of course they're going to be bullish. So when you're talking about, bullish anticipation of XRP, there's so many reasons. It's the same way. People should feel that way about all the bank coins, in my humble opinion. Right now, they're doing an insanely great job. And they're constantly bringing in new partnerships, new clients. They're getting in front of a boatload of new potential clients as of late. You see all the panels they're on? That's about deals. That's about partnership. That's about spreading their message to a lot of these large companies that aren't in yet. But they are indicating and saying, if you read in a lot of the tweets of the bank coins, of the bank coin blockchains, or DLTs rather, they have been indicating that there's a lot of new interest from big money clients. That's great. We've done nothing but grow the entire year. We've been doing nothing but winning the entire year. So it's pretty bullish. It's pretty bullish, man. All right, so now let's continue on here to another article. All right, so now we're going to get on to a little bit of Stellar news, right? I love what Stellar is doing lately. I'm looking forward to a very explosive, I'm hoping and I'm anticipating, okay? I'm reading the energy and I'm following the catalyst, the cause and effect. I see the causes being set up. So I'm expecting in 2023 certain effects. So here's the quote from Stellar, all right? It says, quote, "Collaboration is key to create a financial system that is truly built for everyone." Let's stop right there. Do you see how, are you perceiving, rather, how they're phrasing this? They're telling you a lot to create a financial system, because there's so many people that, they deny the fact that a new financial system is coming. They deny the fact that the banks need us, even though I've been saying, you know what side I stand. I've been saying that the banks literally need us. We don't need them. They need us. We dominate without them. They don't dominate without us. We have a thriving and burgeoning system. They don't. Read bank news. That's all you got to do. Read bank news. You'll see how they're having I've been saying this since last year. They have a liquidity crisis. Only we can provide the liquidity that they need. They created the illusion of liquidity by all the money they were printing. That's why you see, now that they caused the problem, they're having to draw that illusion back within. They have to bring all that fake fiat capital, the terrible, horrible fiat capital, back in an attempt, that doesn't mean they're going to be successful, in an attempt to stabilize the financial markets that they allowed to become destabilized. So anyway, but to create a financial system, but they're telling you, Stellar is telling you that they are a part of creating this financial system. You have to look deeply into these words. Now, it says, our industry must work with traditional financial services and remittance businesses. So this is when when they say something like that, that's when they're being kind to the big money people that they know have power and can close down the pathways that they need open in order to do business. The people that are at the top, when you're talking about banking, you're talking about government, are very, very arrogant and full of themselves. All right. And so if you even say the wrong thing, they will take it personally, and they have no hesitation about using the power that's at hand to shut you down or cause you a problem. So you have to speak, it's a little, well, I won't say what I was going to say, but you have to be very, very kind to them. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes to a disgusting degree. But read this, but reverse that. We know the truth, all right? And we know that when you're communicating with individuals who are either backward-minded or downward-minded, if you're dealing with a backward-minded individual, and these individuals definitely are, as they cling and promote a system, I'm talking about the legacy system, of course, as they cling to and promote a system that is dying and is literally just destroying everything in sight. Yes, they definitely are and definitely did. This is why their system is bleeding out as we speak, right? So they're definitely backward minded. So when you're dealing with a backward minded person, sometimes you have to put things in reverse. When you're dealing with a downward minded individual or entities, you have to put things in a downward minded way. It's the way that they understand. How do you say it? To many beings, hell is a heaven. So you have to provide them with that little bit of hell in order for them to feel right at home. You get what I'm saying? I try to convey that in a lot of different ways. So let's reverse that. It says our industry must work with traditional financial services. No, traditional financial services have literally admitted it to you. The Bank of International Settlements literally told you, IMF, the ECB literally told you that they have to collaborate with the fintechs, with the non-banking financial institutions, the NBFIs, with the blockchain companies, the DLTs. They have to collaborate with them. We bring them into the future. So how does this make any logical sense to say that? It only makes logical sense if they reversed the actual idea of this in order to be kind to the powers, the so-called powers that they want to work with and they want to take value from. That's it. But this tells you, this is huge, in my opinion. When you read it the correct way, this is huge. Our industry must work with traditional financial services and remittance businesses. Also, you can read it, our industry will work with traditional financial services. So that's multi. So you can see what, like, even that the allotment of companies that Stellar has been working with, that's nothing. You see it. See, you have to really do really deep research when it comes to Stellar to see what's going on. But if you see how IBM was working with Stellar, then you have MoneyGram working with Stellar, then you have Everynet, then you have Ultra Stellar, you have Intrastellar, which was sort of like the for-profit wing of Stellar, which then, the head, Mike Kennedy, went over to Velo Labs, but then you have Velo Labs has merged with Everynet, and Everynet had merged with LightNet. You see what's going on. There's this giant conglomeration, this giant congealing happening. But even with those companies that we know about, they're only a small part, a small bit. This is going to be worldwide. And when it does, what does it do to the price of XLM? Every account, when you have millions, maybe even in the future, billions of accounts, and all of them have to hold a minimum of lumens, but they're not all going to hold a minimum of lumens because people are going to want to make some money. Not only that, when you take an allotment of XLM, and I think a lot of companies will, and you can bring it into a private ecosystem or otherwise, and you use that as traceability or for smart contracts or for liquidity, because you can do that. You can just take an allotment of XLM, put it in your system, just visualize that, put it in your system, pump the value into that because you have removed it, right? So you can wrap these coins certain ways, right? And so you can keep them from the circulating supply so that you can use them for your own personal gain. It's just a matter of engineering, so to speak, right? But you could do that. And use it as, how do they say it? Instant liquidity, right? Creating your own liquidity pools. You've seen a lot of that lately. I believe that that's possible. I could be completely wrong. And you could disagree. I will respect that. But I see that as a possibility. Right now, nothing's off the table. So now let's move on. I'm giving you a lot here today. I hope it's a lot. I hope I'm giving you some substance. Let's move on to another article here. So this is from Danelle Dixon. Her post says, just wrapped up my day at #money 2020, which also Ripple was there also. Big money was at Money 2020. That's why they're all there. But anyway, it says the event was packed. What was it packed with? Okay, go ahead and tell us, Danelle. It says packed and full of fintechs that see the value of what? Stellar and blockchain. This is what Quant just came right out and told you. We're going to CBOS to talk to new clients. New clients, government, central banks. They just told you. I love that about Quant. They're so direct. They don't hide anything. I love it. But Stellar's telling you the same thing. This is good. So they saw the value in Stellar and blockchain. What does that mean in relation to Stellar? That means more potential clients who could use the Stellar blockchain, which obviously XLM is an integral part. Unless they're going to change that, they're going to have to tell us. It's an integral part for the friction, for transaction fees, surge pricing. It's an integral part, okay? So that means that there's a new companies that have been exposed to Stellar that that could possibly be using the Stellar blockchain in the future. And that's very good when it comes to XLM. That's how I feel about that, right? So this is very good. Danelle Dixon and Stellar have been doing a great job as of late. I'm very happy with what I've seen. And I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking forward to an explosive 2023. Especially with the ending of the SEC case. Look, we win that SEC case. A lot of those non-disclosure agreements, rip, throw them in the air. It's time for big announcements. From Ripple, Algorand, there's so much they're holding back. SBI Remit Head told you, didn't he? He said, listen, there's a lot of companies on the side. You can look this up, Google it. Although a lot of my people already got the screenshots, they downloaded that article. But the head of SBI Remit said a lot of big money's on the side, waiting for a positive outcome to the Ripple SEC case. They're on the side. They're just waiting. Those non-disclosure agreements will get ripped up. Memorandums of understanding will become actual contracts. So after the victory, a lot of these bank coin companies that are intertwined, one system, will come out with massive announcements, in my humble opinion. And those massive announcements, pay attention to those catalysts. Make sure you're on the lookout around that time for the catalyst. It's going to tell you if you have massive catalysts. It's going to tell you if that price is going to explode. And the people are salivating, they're drooling, they're waiting for something massive. You and I both know it. You see how the price of quant, when people saw quant going up, they started just buying a ton. I mean, they went insane. And just were buying a ton of quant. Trust me, I know. Other things as well. They're buying a ton of a lot of different stuff, a lot of different things. That's why right now it doesn't take a crazy price for some of these protocols to bring people wild riches. So, I think I actually have like 2 more Stellar articles, but I'm gonna click off one of these. I only want to do the one that's more powerful. So then Stellar also, this is from Stellar retweeted this, that they have a deal with Prime Trust now. So Prime Trust is going to be utilizing USDC. I told you, USDC all around the world. XLM transaction fees and things of that nature, friction and such. Every account or every wallet has to hold a minimum. If you have, and people are going to have multiple wallets. What does it do to that price to have that much volume and value in the future? And it's only expanding. It's going to expand exponentially. What does it do to the price to have all of these companies congesting your blockchain? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But everything is leading me to believe that I am correct, right? And XLM and XRP go hand in hand. That's not even taken into account. When XRP rises, XLM does also. There's a reason for that. Cause and effect. Why do you think that is? Whenever XRP rises, XLM rises. Not as much as XRP, but it rises. And XRP stands to explode. So to take that into account as well. So now, let's jump into a little bit of Algorand news. Algorand continues to dominate. I think in the entirety of the year, if I take the entirety of the year into account, I think Algorand is the most impressive as of right now of what they have done. Let's read this little tidbit here. Decipher 2020. You know that's Algorand's event. This is where they shed their light, or how do you say that? They place their light on all of these different powerful entities. This is no different. Check this out. Excited to announce that at Eva Kaili, Vice President of the European Parliament, This is huge. Let me say that again. Vice President of the European Parliament will be speaking at Decipher 2020. And this individual will be hearing all about Algorand. If this individual hasn't already been in meetings, I'm quite sure that they have. That's why they're coming to this event. And having communications with Algorand, obviously. That's why they're coming to this event. And has respect for Algorand, obviously. That's why they're coming to this event. European Parliament. Look how deep we're getting. A lot of value is going to flow into Algorand. We have the respect of some of the most powerful people in the world. How many presidents do we have to interact with at Algorand? How many? How many vice presidents, parliaments, and prime ministers does it take before people realize Algorand's going to explode? If you've been here for a while, you already saw we lived through a few Algorand explosions. When we first started covering Algorand, it was very, very low, and it exploded. That was then. We're much bigger and more powerful and more respected now. We have way more partnerships now. What's going to happen the next time? That's what people need to ask. What's going to happen the next time? All right. All right. I think we're on the same page. Kylie has been a champion for innovation across Europe. And Kylie is here at Algorand's event. So who do you believe that Kylie's going to choose for innovation? We're going to have a piece. We're going to have a piece. And what is that piece going to do to the price of Algorand? I think it's going to, raise? Raise at all. It's going to raise. And it wouldn't be natural if I didn't say muy lindo, mi gente. Let's do it like it sounds like I'm fading away. Muy lindo, mi gente. Gotta have a little bit of fun. All right, so now let's move on to this another article here. I wanted to cover this one just to show people that the big money knows. They know. They know where crypto is going. And keep in mind, who is going to be the last one standing? The bank coins. They're compliant. They're in line with ISO 20022. Never forget that. We will achieve regulatory clarity first. I mean, we have all the advantages also where we already have relationships with hundreds of banks and large financial institutions. Who's going to be trusted more than us? That's going to lead us to more partnerships because of the prestige that we carry. Prestige is important. So in this article, I just want to show you big money already knows that. It says Andreessen Horowitz loses billions of dollars, loses billions, but remains faithful to crypto. Why? This person isn't doing that for their health. Why? Loses billions because this person knows they're going to make, for every billion, I won't say for every billion, they're going to make hundreds of billions of dollars when this all goes off. That's why the FUD has been so heavy. They're trying to shake the people out. You've seen it lately. It's been heavy. I just don't cover it. But even despite that, these type of individuals are not shaken out. There's a reason for that. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. Let's read this here just a little bit. Andreessen Horowitz, a hedge fund managing roughly $28 billion, has become one of the major victims of the crypto victims. Well, look how they phrase it. They love the fear. Fear is a control mechanism. Also, people become infatuated with fear. They become addicted to it. So like all the movies they watch are drama, fear-based music, fear-based and drama. It's an addictive thing. People get like an adrenaline rush and they get conditioned to that. So these people use these words to really stoke that adrenaline, that panic, right? And then you got to read, oh my goodness, they're victims. Let me read the rest because I don't want to be a victim. This is how they do. It's ridiculous, but let's continue on. Once we shine a light on something like that and the darkness is scattered by the light that we shine, we can move on to something else. So let's continue on here. It says, has become one of the major victims of the crypto market crisis that broke out in the spring. Despite the downturn, the company said it remains faithful to the, quote, the crypto-centric vision of the internet called Web3, because that's where the big money is coming from. That's where the big money is going to be. They know it, the NFTs and, the tokenization of everything. I told you, tokenization of everything. Actually, other brilliant minds had told you last year, right? We've been covering more we were covering more MBDCs, MCBDCs, Stellar Blockchain, things like that, Algorand, such. But when it comes to just raw Web3, there were a lot of brilliant minds last year telling you about the tokenization of everything, right? And so these people understand that tokenization of debt, tokenization of resources and things. That's going to be huge money, huge money. Fine art is coming in. We're tokenizing music and things of that nature, music licensing rights, such like that. So tokenization of real estate, they know that. So yes, you can lose billions and still be comfortable knowing that it's going to explode. And you're going to see hundreds of billions. You just have to stick it out. So I think that's powerful to see that and just to understand that. And they don't write a lot of articles like this. I don't see this everywhere. They don't want the people to know. They don't want the people to be inspired by something like this. But the big money knows. We know also. We are in a privileged, I won't say privileged, how do I put that? We're in a very, very special circle where we have information that others do not. And then sometimes you can take it for granted. You can feel like, you can just take it for granted. I'll just leave it at that. But we shouldn't. We shouldn't. We are in a very special position, in my humble opinion. Now, let's continue on here. We're doing pretty good today. We're moving through. Everything's going smooth. I'm feeling good. You feeling good today? You doing good? Drink enough water, get some exercise, get some meditation. Meditation, listen, meditation, a little bit of stretching, a little bit goes a long way, especially as we're getting older. Stretching, and you can stretch in a lot of different ways. Like I said, you can do Qigong. There's a lot of types of Qigong that are just stretching, like 8-piece brocade. I put a video tutorial of the 8-piece brocade method of Qigong in the members only section. You can do that. You can do yoga, right? So, and you can just make up your own stretches, but you got to be very careful. Be very, very careful, especially as we're getting older. So drink some water, vitamins, make sure you're getting a nice, good multivitamin, stretching, maybe some cardio, weightlifting, things of that nature, but everything in perpetual balance. Got to be careful. And also, this is not medical advice. Seek medical professional help. All right. Consult with a doctor or something like that. I have to say that. All right. So now we have an article here and it's titled UK lawmakers vote to recognize crypto as regulated financial instruments. Little by little, we're seeing the steps being taken toward regulatory clarity. Little by little, we're seeing the truth about how they really feel about crypto, as opposed to years of them pretending as though they were against crypto, but they're really not. They're really not. They just don't want you in on the bank coins. They don't want you here. They don't want you having a piece of it. So while they make you look left, they go right. While they tell you to sell and try to make you sell, they go in there, they're buying. And if they're not buying, they're signing contracts that keep allotments set aside for them. They're positioning themselves. This always happens every time there's a transfer of wealth, and this will be the biggest transfer of wealth. It always happens where the so-called powers, they make you look left when they go right. They make you sell when they're just buying. They're signing things. They're making deals. They're passing time with people that even if they don't sign a deal, they know, hey, hold some for that guy. He's going to be in. They know it. UK lawmakers vote to recognize crypto as regulated financial instruments. It says here, lawmakers in the UK voted in favor of recognizing crypto assets as regulated financial instruments and products in the country on Tuesday. The House of Commons, the Parliament's lower house, met on Tuesday for a line-by-line reading of the proposed financial instruments and markets bill, which broadly covers the UK's post-Brexit economic strategy. And who's on the Digital Pound Foundation? Quant and Ripple. And now keep in mind who Quant has Overledger for. XRP, and I believe also XDC, right? They have Overledger for XDC also. Is that correct, right? I believe they do. Then on top of that, keep in mind, I believe Quant has a great relationship with LCX also. You see all this coming together? You see how all of it comes together? Ripple is deep in trade finance. They've been deep for years. They just don't talk about it a lot. XDC is trade finance, but they're also they're trying to go after the banks now also. Then you take into account that Quant has this relationship with LCX. And what is LCX trying to become? And what did the World Economic Forum call LCX? They called them a bank. You see how it's all coming together? So This is very interesting. This is very good. We're seeing some progress. So now that we know that, we'll keep an eye on this and see how this progresses forward. All right. Now let's move on to another article here. All these governments that used to be against crypto, they're now seeing that there is sort of a red line in the sand, right? If they cross it, their countries are going to suffer greatly. Their economies are going to suffer greatly. And I believe this is why they're all coming out now and trying to speed along with regulatory clarity, speed along with setting up, DLT infrastructures. This article here is titled, Busan Government Takes Initiative to Establish Blockchain Ecosystem. So we have the UK, we have Busan. Also, the article that I skipped, I might just put the little blurb on the screen here if I remember, was China. The article that I skipped was titled, Crypto is Not Prohibited in China. So even China is becoming more, they're starting to understand, hey, we got to go light on crypto. And so the people there, the businesses there are beginning to come up with ways to institute their own systems on the DLTs, going around the legal systems. Because the first part of the article that I was going to skip, I guess I'm not skipping it technically now, was China would not be China if there weren't ways to circumvent strict regulations. Ownership of crypto is still legal and legally protected. Most in the West greatly underestimate the flexibility of the Chinese system. So all of these governments, all of these places, in one way or another, are starting to get on board. I call that mass adoption light. It's a light version. You're starting to see the little steps. Later, you see the run, but everything begins with steps. So now, then you have this article here. Things are taking off. Listen, Turkey prepares to launch a CBDC. That money will flow throughout the region, that capital. They will need an agnostic bridge currency. They will need a DLT, or a few of them. I believe there's going to be a combination where it will move money back and forth between the countries in those regions with no problems, with no sanctions. Okay, who's in that region already? I believe Turkey is somewhere. You have like Turkey, Poland, Ukraine, Russia. Stellar's already in that region. Stellar's in that region. And anybody can build on Stellar. I think they'll be deep here. I think a lot of that value will flow into Stellar. What does it do to that price of XLM if that were to occur? And I can't remember, but there was one of our bank coins had a meeting with someone from Turkey. I just can't remember off the top of my head who it was. So there is that also, right? This is the Turkish government plans to launch its central bank digital currency by next year. Then on top of that, there's the problem of liquidity. They all are having liquidity problems. I told you since last year, there's a liquidity crisis. So then where do they get the liquidity from? They can't produce it because fiat is done. It's done. It's dead. And you can't just print things if you're going to have any type of currency that's attached to minerals or gold. You're going to have that allotment of gold or whatever other minerals you're going to base it on to support whatever it is of the currency you're going to be putting out. So it's limited, which is smart because then it retains its value. But its value would have to be taken in relation to other currencies that are backed by whatever commodity is backed by. So if yours is less than this one, then obviously that's where we can derive a certain idea of what value that currency is going to have. That's why you have like a basket of currencies. That's how they use the system. But nonetheless, that puts them in a worse position when it comes to liquidity, right? If something is limited, for instance, like I just gave the example of a currency that's backed by something, but let's say you only have a little bit of gold and you put this out, it's enough for your people, but it's not enough where if external entities want to buy your particular currency that they would be able to liquidate that value, whenever they want to, right? There will be, like I said, there would not be enough liquidity for something like that. I mean, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, but this is what's floating in my head right now. And I can learn from a lot of you. I read a lot of the comments in the comment section. I think that you see that, especially in the members only section. So I learned from a lot of individuals there as well. And I'm always open for learning. That's how growth is done. But where's that liquidity going to come from? I believe it will come from things like XRP on-demand liquidity. This is why you can't get around that. It's going to be huge, huge. Ripple has the prime solution, and I believe one of the only solutions, guarantee solution for everyone across the board. So you have like Ripple, but then you have other offerings like XLM, Algorand, and such, so on and so forth, the bank coins. So this is huge, in my humble opinion. Let's move on to another article here. So this article is titled, "Dollar Sells Off on Speculation of a Less Hawkish Fed. Euro Regains Parity." So it says here, the US dollar sank more than 1% against a basket of peers on Wednesday as weakening economic data firmed views that the Federal Reserve will slow the pace of its rate hiking cycle, sending the euro back above parity with the greenback for the first time in a month. So a lot of things have gained because the dollar has sank, as they say. Listen, we covered a lot of information about a month ago that indicated there's a dollar crash coming, right? So I don't know if this is how sustained this is going to be, but I think it's a symptom of that if that does occur, right? So then once the dollar goes down, everything else is going to go up because the dollar being so strong literally crushes everything else, right? So that should tell you a lot, but you know, let's go here because I had another article that goes sort of with that. I wanted to see. So Canadian dollar, same thing. So we're getting touching on a little bit of currency news here. It says here, the Canadian dollar regained ground to trade around $1.35 on Wednesday, the strongest since October 5th, after dropping to as low as $1.36 earlier in the session as investors were digesting the Bank of Canada's interest rate decision. The BOC unexpectedly slowed the pace of interest rate hikes as the economy shows signs of sharp slowdown. My goodness, I don't know. What are these entities thinking? It says policymakers raised the key rate by 50 basis points to 3.75% on Wednesday, below 75 basis points hike expected by markets. I don't know. I'm just going to continue on. Let's continue on. That's unbelievable in my humble opinion. So then we have this here, a little bit of futures. I always love to touch on this for all my futures people out there, right? So soy and wheat futures rise as weaker US dollar raises exports. So once again, like I said, when the dollar is strong, it crushes everything. When it's weak, everything goes up, boom. Right? So that's why you got to know catalyst. You have to stay on top of what's happening. So you know beforehand when things like this are going to happen, and then everything else goes up in price, or, you know, I don't know, which way you're making money, whether you're making money going up or coming down. Some people are making both. They're making money when it goes up. They're making money when it goes down. So when things go up and go down, okay, people play their hands. But yeah, so you see everything is starting to go up a little bit because the dollar came down. This is what I'm just trying to show you. Chicago Board of Trade grain and soybean futures strengthened on Wednesday as weakness in the US dollar raised hopes for improved export demand for American crops, analysts said, right? All right, so now let's continue on here. Liquidity is a problem for the banks. And they're all going to need on-demand liquidity or instant liquidity because we can source liquidity. We can bring in liquidity from more sources than they can. We can access more capital than they can. See, people get it confused, whereas a lot of the banks, let's say like the Fed, the central banks, are able to just fabricate money out of nothing, out of thin air, right? So that's one. And then also the private banks can do the same thing by issuing loans, issuing debt, all right? So then that creates money as well. But those are illusory. That has nothing to do with access. That has everything to do with just power and being able to do whatever you want to do because there's no one above you to tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that. That's bad for the economies. That's all that is. But that's not access. We have access to actual value when we're talking about Algorand, Stellar, Ripple, Hedera. We have access to actual value because we can get that value from anywhere. And have transparency on where that value is coming from, right? So our liquidity can come from banks, come from other types of large financial institutions. It could come from the tokenization of such and the leveraging of the tokenization of a variety of things. So these are things that only we can do right now. They're going to need it. But anyway, this article here, we're going to close out with this one. It says, Nigeria's central bank to mop liquidity to curb inflation, boost Naira. All of the banks are doing this. All of the central banks are doing this. I love how they just write this article as though it's just this bank. All the banks been doing it all year. That's what raising interest rates are. They're mopping the liquidity. They're bringing some of that capital that they put out there into the economies. They're bringing it back to themselves, right? And removing it from the economy. That's the same thing that Nigeria is doing here. Nigeria's central bank will mop up excess Naira within the next 100 days to tighten money market conditions in its latest attempt to curb inflation. Same thing everybody else is doing. They're all having the same problem. They have a liquidity problem. Now, let's say they learn from their mistakes and they couldn't just randomly print money anytime they wanted to in the future, and they actually did not do that. Then the problem of liquidity is going to only be exacerbated because they've sat on such a cushion for so long that I'm not certain that they know how to issue monetary policy without the possibility of being able to fabricate, just print fiat currency anytime that they want. That has been one of their solutions for so long. How did they get out of that way of thinking? But nonetheless, in order to solve it, we have the only solution: on-demand liquidity, instant liquidity. What does it do to that price? We are in such a powerful position. I think a lot of people underestimate it. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, I would greatly appreciate it if you click that like button. It definitely helps the channel out. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. Thank you. And until next time, let's get to the money.